Overthinking at night. Silence your racing thoughts and fall asleep fast. Proven techniques to stop worrying, calm anxiety, quiet your mind, and finally get deep, restful sleep by Elena Dawnton. Introduction. In 1850, the nights in London started to change. For hundreds of years, people lived by the sun. When it got dark, the world went quiet. Most people actually slept in two parts. They would fall asleep at sunset, wake up for an hour or two in the middle of the night to read or talk by candlelight, and then sleep again until the sun came up. It was a slow, natural rhythm. Then came the gas lamps. Suddenly, the streets were bright long after the sun went down. Factories stayed open late. Shop owners kept their doors open. The two-sleep pattern that humans had used for 1,000 years was pushed aside to make room for the modern workday. People were forced to try to sleep in one solid block, but their brains weren't ready for the change. By the 1880s, doctors noticed something strange. Thousands of people were complaining of brain exhaustion. They felt a new kind of tired. It wasn't just physical work that wore them out. It was a constant, buzzing worry that followed them into the dark. A famous doctor named Silas Weir Mitchell called it neurasthenia. He thought the fast pace of the New World was literally draining the electricity out of people's nerves. Doctors back then didn't know how to fix it. They told people to go on rest cures, where they weren't allowed to read or even move for weeks. It didn't work. The problem wasn't that people were lazy or weak. The problem was that the world had become loud, bright, and fast, but the human brain was still built for the quiet woods of the past. This was the birth of the overthinking epidemic. It is a struggle that has only grown stronger in the years since those first gas lamps flickered to life. Today, we don't just have gas lamps. We have glowing phones, endless emails, and a world that never truly sleeps. The midnight courtroom. You probably know exactly how this feels. You finish a long day. You are so tired that your eyes burn. All you want is to close them and drift away. You climb into bed, pull up the covers, and turn off the light. The room goes black. Then, it starts. Your brain, which felt like lead just 5 minutes ago, suddenly turns on like a bright neon sign. It doesn't bring up happy memories. It doesn't help you solve world hunger. Instead, it opens the midnight courtroom. In this courtroom, you are the one on trial. Your brain begins to go through every mistake you made during the day. It replays that one sentence you said to your boss that sounded a little bit weird. It wonders if your friend is mad at you because they didn't text back. It starts to list every bill you have to pay, every chore you didn't finish, and every what-if scenario that could possibly go wrong tomorrow. The silence of the room makes these thoughts sound like they are being shouted through a megaphone. Problems that seem small at noon feel like giant monsters at 2 a.m. You look at the clock. It says 2:14. You start to do the math. If I fall asleep right now, I can still get 6 hours of sleep, you tell yourself. But 20 minutes later, you are still awake. Now you are worrying about the fact that you are worrying. Your heart starts to beat a little faster. You feel a buzz in your chest. Now the clock says 2:45. You think, I'm going to be a wreck tomorrow. I won't be able to think. I'll probably mess up that meeting. Everyone will know I'm failing. This is a lonely, frustrating place to be. It feels like your own mind is working against you. You feel like a victim of your thoughts, trapped in a loop that you can't stop. You might think there is something wrong with you, or that you just aren't good at sleeping. The truth is much simpler. Your brain is trying to protect you. It just doesn't realize that it's doing more harm than good. The Promise of a Quiet Mind. This book is here to tell you that you are not broken. You don't need a rest cure or a miracle pill. Sleep is not just something that happens to you. It is a skill that you can learn to manage. By the time you finish these chapters, you will no longer be a midnight martyr, someone who suffers through the night and prays for the sun to come up. You will become a rested architect. An architect is someone who designs and builds something with a plan. You are going to learn how to design your evenings and build a bridge that leads your mind from the chaos of the day to the peace of deep sleep. You will learn why your brain chooses the quietest hours to bring up the loudest problems. You will discover how to unhook yourself from a racing thought so it can't drag you down. You will learn how to set up your bedroom like a sanctuary, and how to use your own breath to flip the off switch in your nervous system. The goal isn't just to get more hours of sleep. The goal is to wake up feeling like yourself again. You deserve to wake up without that heavy brain fog that makes you reach for coffee before you even say hello to your family. You deserve to feel sharp at work and present with the people you love. This isn't based on guesswork. It is based on how the human body actually works. We will look at how the brain washes itself at night to get rid of waste. We will look at the master clock inside your head that tells your body when to be awake and when to rest. We will use tools that have worked for Roman emperors and world-changing inventors. The story of Sarah. To see how this works in the real world, we are going to follow the story of a woman named Sarah Jenkins. Sarah is 34 years old and lives in Seattle. She is a senior project manager at a fast-moving company. She is what most people call a type A person. She is organized, she works hard, and she cares deeply about doing a good job. She is also the mother of 2 toddlers who are 2 and 4 years old. Sarah's life looks great on the outside, but her nights are a disaster. Every night, Sarah stays up late in her home office to finish emails once the kids are in bed. By the time she crawls into bed at 11:30 p.m., she is physically exhausted. She usually falls asleep right away because she is so drained. But then, like clockwork, her eyes snap open at 2 a.m. She calls this the 2 a.m. task list. As soon as she wakes up, her mind begins an audit of her entire life. She thinks about the email she sent to her boss and worries that her tone was too aggressive. She thinks about the fact that she was impatient with her 4-year-old during dinner and feels a wave of guilt. Then she starts thinking about a big work audit coming up in 2 weeks. Sarah believes that this worrying is actually helpful. She tells herself, if I stop thinking about these problems, I'll lose my edge. If I don't worry about the audit, I'll fail. She thinks that worrying is the same thing as working. But it isn't working. It's just spinning. When 3 a.m. rolls around, Sarah often gives up. She gets out of bed, goes to the kitchen, and turns on her laptop. She thinks that if she answers a few more emails, her brain will finally let her rest. But all she is doing is teaching her brain that 3 a.m. is work time. Sarah is stuck in a cycle of panic and self-loathing. She feels like she is failing at her job because she is too tired to think. And she feels like she is failing at home because she is too irritable to play with her kids. She is a midnight martyr, sacrificing her health and her peace because she doesn't know how to turn her brain off. Over the next few chapters, we are going to help Sarah change her story. We are going to show her that she can be a high achiever without being a high worrier. We are going to give her the tools to decommission her midnight courtroom and replace it with a routine that actually works. Why you can trust this path. You might have tried things before. Maybe you tried listening to rain sounds, or you bought a special pillow, or you tried to just stop thinking. Usually, when we try to force ourselves to sleep, it just makes us stay awake longer. Sleep is like a shy bird. If you chase it, it flies away. If you sit still and create the right environment, it will eventually land on your shoulder. The techniques in this book are not just tips. They are based on a deep understanding of human biology and psychology. We will look at the work of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who lived nearly 2,000 years ago. He was a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. He dealt with wars, plagues, and people trying to steal his throne. He had every reason to be the world's biggest overthinker. Yet he wrote a private journal, which we now call Meditations, to train his mind to stay calm in the middle of chaos. He knew that peace was an inside job. We will look at Florence Nightingale, the woman who started modern nursing. In 1854, she went to a war hospital where men were dying in crowded, noisy rooms. She realized that the environment was just as important as the medicine. She changed the light, the air, and the noise level to help the soldiers' bodies heal. We will use her sleep protocols to fix your bedroom. We will also look at Thomas Edison, the man who gave us the light bulb. He had a very active mind, but he learned how to use the half-asleep state to solve problems, so he didn't have to worry about them while he was trying to rest. This book combines this ancient wisdom with modern science. We know more now than ever before about how the brain works. We know about the vagus nerve, which acts like a brake for your heart rate. We know about cognitive diffusion, which is a way to look at your thoughts without getting tangled up in them. The road ahead. We are about to start a journey that will change the way you look at the night. In the first part of this book, we are going to look at the why. We will learn about the sentinel, the part of your brain that stays awake to look for danger. You will see why your brain isn't trying to hurt you, but is actually trying to keep you safe in a way that doesn't fit modern life. Then we will move into the how. We will look at rumination, which is the fancy word for thoughts that go in circles. You will learn how to tell the difference between productive thinking and the ghost in the machine that just keeps you awake for no reason. We will spend time engineering your environment. You will learn how to turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary using the 3-2-1 rule and the cave protocol. You will see how light and temperature can either be your best friends or your worst enemies. After that, we will get into the mental tools. These are the off switches. You will learn 7 specific ways to unhook from a racing thought. You will learn how to command your subconscious mind to solve problems for you while you sleep, so you don't have to stay awake doing the work yourself. Finally, we will put it all together into simple rituals. You don't need a 3-hour routine. You just need a few small, powerful habits that tell your brain, the day is over, you are safe. Before we turn the page, I want you to do one small thing. Wherever you are, just take one deep breath. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for a moment, and then breathe out very slowly through your mouth like you are blowing through a straw. That slow exhale is the first step. It tells your nervous system that there is no lion in the room. It is a signal of safety. You have been carrying the weight of your thoughts for a long time. You have been fighting a war in the dark, and you are tired. It is time to put down the heavy bags you've been carrying. It is time to learn that you can be productive and peaceful at the same time. Sarah is waiting in her kitchen in the middle of the night, staring at her laptop. Let's go find her and show her that there is a better way. The sun has gone down, but the night doesn't have to be your enemy anymore. The journey to your first full night of deep, restful sleep starts right now. Chapter 1. Why does your brain wake up when the world goes quiet? The house is perfectly still. The kids are tucked in, the streetlights outside are dim, and the only sound is the soft hum of the refrigerator in the next room. There are no emails prying for your time. There are no bosses asking for reports. Even the dog is snoring. By all accounts, this is the peace you have been waiting for all day. You climb into bed and pull the covers up to your chin. Your body is heavy with a deep, bone-weary tiredness. You close your eyes, expecting to drift off in seconds. But then it happens. Out of the darkness, a single thought arrives. It is small at first, like a tiny spark in a dry forest. Did I sound rude in that meeting this morning? Before you can answer yourself, another thought follows. I forgot to move the laundry to the dryer. Then another. What if that weird noise the car made today means the engine is dying? Within 5 minutes, the silence of the room is replaced by a shouting match inside your head. The peace you craved has become a trap. You are wide awake, your heart is beating a little faster, and the more you try to stop the thoughts, the louder they get. It feels like a betrayal. You think your brain is broken, or that you are simply bad at being a person. You wonder why you can't just turn it off like a light switch. You feel like a victim of your own mind, stuck in a loop of worry while the rest of the world sleeps soundly. But the truth is far older and more interesting than a broken brain. To understand why your mind screams when the world goes quiet, we have to travel back to a place where silence was the most dangerous thing of all. The watchman in the cave. Imagine you are standing at the mouth of the cave in northern Spain. The year is 34,000 BC. The sun has just dipped below the horizon, and the world is turning a deep, bruised purple. You are part of a small tribe of humans. You have spent the day gathering berries and trying to stay out of the way of large animals with very sharp teeth. As the light fades, your tribe retreats into the back of the cave of Altamira. You huddle together for warmth. A small fire flickers, casting long, dancing shadows against the stone walls. In the morning, these walls will be covered in beautiful paintings of bison and deer, but right now, they are just cold and dark. Everyone in the tribe eventually falls asleep, but not everyone sleeps the same way. Group A consists of deep sleepers. Once their eyes close, they are gone. A thunderstorm wouldn't wake them. A bear could walk into the cave and start sniffing their hair, and they would stay perfectly still, dreaming of a sunny day. Group B consists of the sentinels. They are tired too, but they sleep with one ear open. Their brains stay in a state of high alert. If a twig snaps outside the cave, their eyes fly open. If the fire dies down too much, they notice. They are the ones who spend the quiet hours of the night, wondering if the cave entrance is secure, or if the neighbor tribe is planning to steal their flint tools. When a pack of wolves approaches the cave in the middle of the night, Group A never sees it coming. They are easy targets. But Group B, the warriors, the overthinkers, the ones who couldn't shut their brains off, they are the ones who sound the alarm. They wake the tribe. They grab the spears. They survive. Because Group B survived, they had children. They passed down their genes. Over thousands of years, the sentinel brain became the standard model for the human race. You are not an overthinker because you are weak or anxious. You are an overthinker because you are the descendant of the people who were the best at staying alive. Your brain is not malfunctioning when it keeps you awake at 2 a.m. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is looking for a wolf. The myth of the broken brain. There is a common belief that a healthy mind should be like a calm lake, smooth and still. We are told that if we just relax or let go, the thoughts will stop. When they don't stop, we decide there must be something wrong with us. We treat our nighttime worry like a disease that needs to be cured. This is the great myth of modern sleep. We believe our brains are supposed to be quiet when we are quiet. But your brain doesn't have an off switch. It only has different modes of on. In 2001, the scientist named Marcus Rachel discovered something that changed how we look at the human mind. He was using brain scans to see what happened when people were focused on a task, like solving a math problem. He noticed that when the people finished the task and sat quietly to rest, their brains didn't actually slow down. In fact, certain parts of the brain became more active. He called this the default mode network. Think of it like the background apps on your smartphone. Even when you aren't using your phone to send a text or watch a video, there are programs running behind the scenes. They are checking for updates, searching for a Wi-Fi signal, and organizing your data. Your brain has a background app that kicks in the moment you stop focusing on the outside world. When you are busy at work, your brain is focused on the task at hand. When you are talking to a friend, your brain is focused on the conversation. But the second you lay your head on the pillow and the external world disappears, the default mode network takes over. It starts updating your life. It looks through your past for mistakes you might have made so you don't repeat them. It looks into the future for problems that might pop up so you can be ready. To your brain, this is a very helpful service. It thinks it is helping you prepare for the wolves of your modern life. The unpaid bills, the awkward emails, and the difficult conversations. The problem is that your brain hasn't quite caught up to the modern world. It can't tell the difference between a literal wolf at the cave door and a wolf like a deadline at work. To your sentinel brain, they are both threats to your survival. And because there is no physical action you can take at 2 a.m. to fix a work deadline, your brain just keeps spinning its wheels, louder and louder. Hoping that if it worries enough, it will eventually find a solution. Sarah and the Sentinel. Sarah Jenkins sat at her kitchen table in Seattle, the cold wood pressing against her forearms. It was 3:12 a.m. This was her third night in a row of what she called the spin. Sarah was a project manager. Her job was to see problems before they happened and fix them before they ruined a timeline. She was very good at her job because she was a professional worrier. But lately she couldn't leave the worry at the office. She had just spent the last hour in bed, thinking about the tone of an email she had sent to her boss. She had used a period where she should have used an exclamation point. Does he think I'm being passive-aggressive, she wondered. Then she thought about the upcoming audit. If the files aren't perfect, I'll lose my bonus. If I lose my bonus, we can't pay for the kids' preschool. If the kids can't go to preschool, their development will suffer. It was a chain of logic that felt like a tightening rope. She felt a buzz in her chest, a physical hum of energy that made her legs want to twitch. She felt like she was broken. She felt like a failure because she couldn't do something as simple as sleep. She picked up a book she had bought earlier that day. She started reading about the Sentinel hypothesis and the cave of Altamira. As she read about the ancient humans who stayed awake to protect the tribe, she felt a strange sensation. It wasn't quite peace, but it was a release of pressure. I'm not broken, she whispered to the empty kitchen. I'm just a sentinel. She looked at the digital clock on the oven. Instead of seeing it as a judge telling her how much she was failing at sleep, she saw it as a data point. Her brain was just doing its job. It was trying to protect her from the wolf of the audit. This realization didn't make the thoughts go away instantly, but it changed her relationship with them. She stopped fighting the thoughts. She stopped being angry at her brain for being awake. She named that part of her mind the sentinel. When a new worry about the laundry or the preschool popped up, she would say to herself, "Thank you, sentinel. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but there are no wolves here tonight." For the first time in weeks, the buzz in her chest began to fade. She wasn't fighting a war anymore. She was just a person with a very old, very protective brain that didn't realize the cave was already safe. The midnight courtroom. The reason overthinking feels so heavy at night is because of a phenomenon we call the midnight courtroom. During the day, you have a lot of witnesses who can speak in your defense. If you have a bad thought about yourself at 10 o'clock a.m., a coworker might compliment your work, or a friend might text you a joke. These external events act as a defense attorney, proving that your negative thoughts aren't true. But at night, the courtroom is empty. There is no one there but the prosecutor, your overthinking brain. The prosecutor brings up evidence from 3 years ago. It shows the jury, which is also you, a video of that time you tripped during a presentation. It reads out a list of every person you think might be mad at you. Because there is no one there to argue back, the prosecutor wins every case. You find yourself guilty of being a bad employee, a bad parent, and a bad friend before the sun even comes up. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, knew all about this courtroom. He was the most powerful man in the world, but he struggled with the same racing thoughts we do today. He wrote in his private journal, what we now call meditations, to calm his own mind. He once wrote that the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. He realized that if he spent his nights thinking about the betrayals of his generals or the plague ravaging his empire, his soul would turn dark and anxious. He had to learn how to change the color of his thoughts by looking at them objectively. He didn't try to stop the thoughts. He tried to see them for what they really were. He stripped away the scary adjectives. Instead of thinking, "This is a terrible, life-ruining disaster," he would think, "This is an event that is happening, and my opinion of it is what makes it feel like a disaster." When you are in the midnight courtroom, you are letting your thoughts use very scary adjectives. You aren't just tired, you are ruined for tomorrow. You didn't just forget a task, you are incompetent. The first step to silencing the racing thoughts is to realize that the trial is rigged. Your brain is only presenting one side of the story because it thinks that by showing you the worst-case scenario, it is helping you prepare. It is a survival tactic, not a truth-telling tactic. The two-sleep pattern. Another reason we feel so frustrated when we wake up in the middle of the night is that we have a very modern, very rigid idea of what sleep is supposed to look like. We think we should go to bed, go unconscious for 8 hours, and wake up when the sun rises. If we wake up at 2 a.m., we think we have failed. But history tells a different story. Before the invention of the light bulb, humans didn't usually sleep in one big 8-hour block. Dr. A. Roger Eckhart, a historian, found thousands of references in old books and journals to something called first sleep and second sleep. People would go to bed shortly after the sun went down. They would sleep for about 4 hours, then wake up around midnight. They would stay awake for an hour or two. During this time, they might read by candlelight, pray, talk to their partners, or even visit neighbors. It was a quiet, peaceful time. Then, they would go back for their second sleep until morning. This was the natural rhythm of the human body for most of history. But when gas lamps and electric lights were invented, we squeezed those two sleeps into one. We decided that waking up in the middle of the night was a disorder called insomnia. When you wake up at 3 a.m. and your brain starts racing, part of the problem is the stress you feel about being awake. You tell yourself, "Oh no, I'm awake. I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. I have to get back to sleep right now." This stress triggers a release of cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol is like a shot of caffeine for your brain. It wakes the sentinel up even more. If you can accept that waking up is a natural part of being human, that it's just your intermission between first and second sleep, the stress disappears. And when the stress disappears, the cortisol levels drop, making it much easier for your brain to quiet down and let you drift off again. Stimulus control. The bed is a sanctuary. If your brain is a sentinel, it is very good at learning where it needs to be on guard. If you spend 3 hours every night worrying in your bed, your brain starts to associate the bed with worry. Think about how you feel when you walk into a library. You probably start to feel quiet and studious. When you walk into a gym, you might feel a boost of energy. This is because your brain has linked those locations to certain activities. Many overthinkers have accidentally trained their brains to think that the bed is a worry room. The moment their head hits the pillow, the brain says, "Okay, this is where we do our best worrying. Let's get started." To break this cycle, we have to use a technique called stimulus control. The goal is to make the bed a place where only two things happen: sleep and sex. If you are in bed and you aren't sleeping because your brain is racing, you are actually training your brain to stay awake. The rule is simple. If you haven't fallen asleep within about 15 or 20 minutes, or if you feel the buzz of overthinking starting to take over, you must get out of bed. This feels counterintuitive. You are tired and you want to sleep, so you feel like you should stay in bed and try harder. But you cannot try to sleep. Sleep is something that happens when you stop trying. By staying in bed and struggling, you are just strengthening the link between your mattress and your anxiety. Get up. Go to another room. Keep the lights low. Don't look at your phone, which is a box of infinite wolves. Do something quiet and boring, like folding laundry or reading a book that isn't too exciting. Only go back to bed when you feel that heavy, droopy eye feeling of actual sleepiness. By doing this, you are teaching your sentinel that the bed is not the place for patrols. You are telling your brain that the midnight courtroom is closed for the night. The practical close, the 15-minute rule. Today you can start changing your relationship with your racing thoughts. You don't need to master meditation or buy expensive supplements. You just need to change how you react when the sentinel wakes up. Tonight, if you find yourself staring at the ceiling and the midnight courtroom begins its session, don't try to fight the thoughts. Don't get angry at yourself. Instead, try these 3 steps. Name the sentinel. When a worry pops up, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, "Thank you, sentinel. I see you are worried about that meeting. You are just doing your job to keep me safe." This takes the sting out of the thought. You are observing the thought rather than being the thought. Watch the clock. Once, if you feel like you have been spinning your wheels for a while, check the time. If it has been more than 15 or 20 minutes and you feel wired, it is time to move. The change of scenery. Get out of bed. Go to a worry chair in another room. By physically moving your body, you are breaking the circuit of the overthinking loop. You are telling your brain, "We aren't doing this in the sanctuary of the bed." Tomorrow morning, you might still be a little tired, but you will have won a major victory. You will have started the process of retraining your brain to understand that the cave is safe, the wolves are gone, and the sentinel can finally stand down. The silence of the night doesn't have to be a threat. It can be what it was always meant to be, a space for you to rest, recover, and prepare for a new day. You have the brain of a survivor. Now it's time to teach that survivor how to sleep. Chapter 2. Rumination. The Ghost in the Machine. The floorboards of the White House groaned under the weight of a man who could not find rest. It was the winter of 1862, and the United States was tearing itself apart. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, paced the dark hallways alone. His nightshirt hung loosely on his tall, thin frame. He looked more like a ghost than a leader. In the rooms below, the telegraph machines clicked and buzzed. Every click meant another life lost. Every buzz brought news of a battle gone wrong. Lincoln would often walk down to the telegraph office in his slippers, waiting for the latest updates. But when he went back to bed, the updates didn't stop. They just moved inside his head. Lincoln suffered from what people back then called melancholy. Today, we would call it deep sadness or depression. But at night, his mind did something even more painful. It entered a loop. He wasn't just thinking about the war, he was putting himself on trial. He was the judge, the jury, and the man in the dock. He asked himself the same questions over and over. Was it his fault the country was bleeding? Did he pick the wrong generals? Was he the man who would finally destroy the Union? This is the midnight courtroom in action. The brain takes the problems of the day and turns them into a horror movie where you are the villain, the ghost in the machine. Lincoln's struggle shows us exactly what rumination feels like. The word rumination comes from a Latin word that describes how cows eat. A cow bites some grass, swallows it, then brings it back up to chew on it again, and again, and again. When we ruminate, we are chewing on our thoughts. We think we are solving a problem, but we are actually just tasting the same bitter flavor, over and over. There is a big difference between productive reflection and unproductive rumination. Productive reflection is like looking at a map to find a way out of the woods. You see where you are, you pick a path, and you start walking. Unproductive rumination is like walking in a tight circle around the same tree. You are moving your legs, and you are getting tired, but you aren't going anywhere. You are just wearing a hole in the ground. For Lincoln,